Yes, good day, class, grade 11 life sciences. We are meeting once again for exam scope, exam revision, its intervention for our end of year examinations. Just check through today. We are going to work on paper 2. This is the latest paper of all times anyway. Just be patient and follow to the end. It's a full paper. So you need to know that this is November examination. Obviously, the paper is long, but just be patient so that you go to the exam very ready and well equipped. We bring you the best. Keep connected. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and also share. Without wasting any time, you should always know that you read instructions when you go for exams. Each instruction or every instruction that is given there per section, per full paper, per question, you always need to follow them. So I always remind you about that. Question 1 reads as it's a multiple choice questions. I always say that section A, please. Section A, if you are following Metric Hub and you don't get 50 marks on section A, I actually wish you to do the best. Try to do the best because section A is our motto, it's our DNA that we always have to get the total of section A. So, which organism does not belong to a kingdom? Which organism does not belong to a kingdom? I've been saying that this question, it forms part of the previous, term 4 work, that video that I posted lastly now, go and look at it. It talks about the two kingdom classification, the four kingdom classification and everything else there. We explain about what is classification and why do we talk about all these various biospheres and so forth. One thing that you need to know is that which of the following does not belong to a kingdom. We say that all these ones, they belong to a kingdom except a virus. We remember that we talked about the fungi. The fungus, it goes to bacteria. We have got the protozoa, and then we identify that the virus does not belong to a kingdom. It is the virus that is not belonging. Which one of the following produces antibodies? I remember that antibodies, you should understand it that these are they are the soldiers of the body. They actually boost the immune system. The antibodies are there to defend the body against diseases. They do defend against illnesses. So if we say which one of the following produces antibodies, I'm sure that you need to understand that antibodies are the soldiers, they are the ones that boost immune system. So one that does not belong or that produces antibodies, it is the lymphocytes. If you can check, we are saying red blood cells, they carry oxygen, the macrophage, and also, lastly, the blood plasma do not produce antibodies. We are saying which of the following produces antibodies. If you look at the blood composition or we look at the body system, we understand that the lymphocytes are responsible for production of defense system of the body, which we are saying the antibodies. The antibodies. The following is a list that describes the viruses. Viruses are described by the following list. Which of the following we are saying they play an important role in decomposers. They are major pathogen of human. They produce within a host cell. They are parasites. And then which of the following combinations are of biological importance in viruses? Which of the following are of biological importance in viruses? If we look at that, you should understand that viruses in terms of biological value, we must understand that they are major pathogen of human. We can agree that they are major pathogen of human. Pathogen is to say disease causing in human. They are disease causing in human. Two is correct, and then they are parasites. They are also able to live. They live on a host, which is also correct, and then they produce within a host cell. I'm sure that we understand that pathogens, viruses, they produce within a host cell. So we are saying of biological importance in viruses is 2, 3, and 4. They are 2, 3, and 4. They are of biological importance. We are saying they are of biological importance in terms of their living. We are saying they are major pathogen of human. They are parasites. They produce in a host, obviously a host in which way they are carried. So we are saying that B is the correct answer. Which of the following combinations are two essential parts of a flower for reproduction? When we talk about flowering plants, I'm sure that I remember that when we look in plants, we are saying two essential parts for flower reproduction are the ovary and the anther, the pistil and the stamens, the corolla and ovary, the calyx and ovary. I'm sure that you remember that when we look in flower uh, uh, reproduction, this is quite understood that the stamens and the stamens and the pistil are very important in terms of uh, uh, flower reproduction, the male reproductive parts, and also we talk about the pistil, which we are saying that when you look into reproduction, it is that, and then anther, obviously, we are talking about the male sex cells, and then obviously, and we talk about the ovary, which is also the female reproductive uh, part. So now the gametophyte is the dominant generation in dash. The gametophyte is a dominant generation. This we look at it again on the video. You shall find out that we talk about the barophytes. They are a dominant generation in the barophyte. The gametophyte are a dominant generation in the barophytes. That is one thing that I have also even explained on the channel. Check again in terms of this uh, deep, in-depth content. Which of the following invasive alien plant control measures are the most effective and least threatening to our indigenous biodiversity? So we are saying they do not affect our indigenous, they affect to a less extent in terms of our indigenous vegetation or our indigenous variety of organisms, both plants and animals. And then we are saying is is most in alien plant control measure are most effective, is most effective is to say can do the best and least threatening, does not affect our biodiversity. So which one is that? So if we look at it, we are saying it must be able to give a better control, but however, it must also, we are saying it must give the most effective, but affecting to a less extent our indigenous, our local biodiversity, which is both plants and animal. So slashing, if we slash it, it means we are also cutting uh, and also killing some organisms that are there which supposed to survive. Chemical control method. Chemicals, you always know that they've got side effects which can also be causing problems. And then burning, it is even worse. It can affect the indigenous biodiversity because they can actually no longer, they might not even come back to life. Certain plants can die and other organisms can die because of the fire. So a biological control measure which has got it a biological, we actually engage a specific organism that can actually get rid of the what of the alien plants. but also not affecting our indigenous plant. It can only feed on the alien plants alone. So it does not threaten our indigenous biodiversity. So it's a biological control mechanism. The zygote of a moss plant, the zygote of a moss plant, uh, it actually results from the fusion of two spores, develops into sporophyte, is part of the gametophyte generation, develops into protonema. So now, what happens is that the zygote of the moss plant, if you remember, we've been talking about the life cycle of moss. The life cycle of a moss plant, you remember that the zygote, it develops into the sporophyte. If we look into this what you call life cycle of most plants, we are saying that the zygote develops into the sporophyte. Is correct, that one. And then the outer layer of a seed grain is the dash. Number 8, the outer layer, it is actually the it's ectoderm and contains specialized protective stinging cells. I'm sure that is very correct to say that the outer layer of this is actually an ectoderm, meaning to say that A is the right hand, and then it contains specialized protective stinging cells, as to say that it actually ensures that they have got specialized protective stinging cells on it. And then which of the following may be reasons for the exploitation of natural resources? Exploitation of natural resources. What is the main, which of the following may be the reasons for exploitation of natural resources? Natural resources, they can be exploited because of poverty and shortage of food, use of indigenous plants for medical purposes, for entertainment, use of firewood to generate heat energy. So for exploitation of indigenous plants, it can be because that when people are exploiting them, we must understand that we can also, because indigenous are used as poverty and shortage of food, people can also do that. Use of indigenous plants for chemical purposes, medical purposes. I'm sure you know that the traditional medication, people use indigenous plants. And then use for wood, for generate heat. I'm sure that you know that indigenous plants, we use them as firewood, also for entertainment, not really. So we can agree that the most reason it can be because people once, it's people have got no other alternative, which is shortage of poverty and shortage of food, indigenous plants for medical purposes, and then also firewood, which is D, can be right. And then the following are some of the gases which surround the earth. The gases that surround the earth. And then copper dioxide, methane, carbon dioxide, and argon. So which combination below represents greenhouse gases? Greenhouse gases, we say these are gases that are causing pollution in the atmosphere. So then we should understand that carbon dioxide, it is a greenhouse gas, which is the most commonest one. We talk about methane is the most common, is also the decomposing gas produced from decomposing matter. It is also correct to say that we have got methane from dumping sites. So our answer should be, we are saying it should be carbon dioxide and what represent greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide and methane. Carbon dioxide and methane, uh, they represent greenhouse gases. We give biological terms for the following descriptions, and then we need to understand to say organisms that have a definite or a defined nucleus. I'm sure this also relates to the other question that I answered previously, which we distinguished between classification of organisms which have got a nucleus and the ones which does not have. So we were saying that organisms which have got the nucleus are called eukaryotes. They are called eukaryotes. They have got a definite nucleus. And then the process used by lymphocytes to engulf bacteria is called phagocytosis. When liquorides, we said in terms engulfing, like destroying, they cover up, they indulge and break the bacteria and destroy it. It's called phagocytosis. We are saying, remember we talk about to say the lymphocytes, they are there in order to provide antibodies and stuff. So when bacteria enters the body, they are engulfed by the lymphocytes. The lymphocytes causes that they ensures that bacteria cannot survive. They actually uh, destroy them by engulfing them. And then a symbiotic relationship. We are saying a beneficial relationship in which one organism benefits while the other is harmed. It's called parasitism. I'm sure I remember that we talked about these relationships. When something is a parasite, it means it is feeding on the host. So we say that it is a symbiotic relationship in which one organism benefits. When one benefits and the other is harmed, it's a parasitic relationship. And then the movement of individuals of a population out of a habitat, we call that what? Emigration. When organisms move out of a habitat, we call that emigration. Immigration, moving in, moving out, emigration. Pollution that results, pollution that results of warm or very hot water vapor pumped into the water, into a water body. When pollution that results of warm or very hot water waste are pumped into a water body. Okay, remember in the process of the generation of electricity from coal, we call that thermal pollution. Thermal pollution, thermal, thermal pollution, thermal pollution. It is when hot water is discarded or is disposed into hot water, or warm water is disposed into water resources or water bodies, resulting in the dying or affecting of aquatic lives. Organisms that live in water are dying because that hot water, it also deplenishes. It actually reduces the amount of oxygen in the water resource. The phase during population growth, where animals adapt to new environment. We call that the lag phase. When population, where organisms or animals adapt to a new environment, is called the lag phase. And then total head count of all individuals in a population. I'm sure that you remember we talk about uh census. Census, it involves counting everything, counting all the organisms within a population species. We call that census. Head count of all individuals in a population. It is called census. I'm sure question 1.3, you remember that how does it go? It's A, B, both or none. So whip-like structures used for locomotion in bacteria what is it that whip-like structures that are used for movement? Locomotion is movement. In bacteria, it is which one is used? It used the flagella only, which is A. And then part that form from a fertilized ovum. When an ovum is fertilized, we are saying this is in plants. Which part is formed there from a fertilized ovum? It forms what? It forms the what? The fruit. I'm sure I remember this one. We've been talking about the structure of fertilization in plants, which we talk about the plamo and the radical, saying that the plamo forms the what? The plamo forms the shoot and the radical forms the root. So we are saying the germinating seed and also even the vice versa in pollination and fertilization. What happens? The formation of the fruit and the seed. Kitten competing for their own mother's milk. When kitten are like the young cats are competing to feed on their mother's milk, it is what? When the young, we are saying kittens are competing for their mother's milk, it is the same species of organisms competing amongst themselves. So when we are saying inter, it means between species. So intra is within the same species, which is what? B only. So we are saying B, we are saying A, it is also A. And then resource partitioning, forest stratification. Stratification is also dividing the forest into specific compartments, which we call stratas. Lions and leopards, we are saying they do resource partitioning. So it can be, in this case, it is both. Resource partitioning is both forest stratification and lions and leopards. They actually they actually have their own hunting grounds. We also have that division of the forest into specific zones or demarcations. We call that stratification. The diagram below represents the structure of a flower. It is quite interesting, which I once also said before. We once did it also in the uh, previous exam papers. So the structure of a flower is very important. We need to understand it. 1.41, label part F and H. What is F? F, as you can see, we are saying the attractive part of the flower that is just blossoming. We call that what? The corolla. It is called the petal. It is called the corolla also. And then we also have H. We say that H is what? Is the filament. H is the filament. I'm sure that if you can look at this, we are quite aware of this diagram. We once labeled it again. It's not the first time that we are meeting here to look at the structure of the plant and then name the letter, name the letter and the part which produces pollen. The part name the letter and the part which produces pollen. Remember that pollen are what are male parts of the plant. So the part where pollen are produced from the anther. Before we get to see which one is the anther. Anther is where pollen are produced. So we are saying which part represents the what? The anther. The anther is actually sustained by the filament, which is what? Which is G. The anther is the top part of the filament. The filament sustains or carries the anther. So it is the anther, which is G. Give O the letters that represent the female wall. So we are saying which ones are representing the female wall. We can say it can be the female. We say that the female part of the plant. We have got I guess this can also be labeled by A. As you can see, we are saying we have got A, which represents, we have got E, D, C, and B. So which is represented, the female wall of the plant is represented. We say we have got the ovary, we have got the stigma and all that. So what we are saying is that A represents, which is representing all part of the female wall. It can say B, it can be C, it can be D, and E, which we can basically say that A, according to our graph, according to our diagram, A is representing all that. A is representing all that. And then give the collective name for all parts labeled as I, which are labeled as I. We are saying these are the male parts of the plant. We are saying these are the male parts of the plant. The male parts of the plant, we say that is called the what? The stamens. It's called the stamen. Stamen. The anther and the filament, they represent I. The graph below shows prevalence of malaria over years. So we are given the prevalence of malaria over years. So this is a bar graph. And please note that when you are going to exam, you should always know that when you are given to draw a graph, axis must be labeled. There must be a specific interval or a scale. As you can see, 0, 0.5, 1, 1,5. So we have got an interval of what? We have got a specific interval that is taking place 0,5, 0,5, 0,5 going up there. That's how our cumulative vertical axis going. And don't forget that the bars must always be labeled. As you can see this, you can identify that the graph should always have labels on top of the bars, and obviously the title which is given on the previous page there, the malaria prevalence. And then obviously we have got the years or time that is given in what? In years, which is on the horizontal axis. So we are given the first question to say that we are given the first question saying, in which year was the percentage of malaria the highest? So we are just going to look on the bars and identify the one with the highest. The highest, which year do we have the highest? The highest is found. This is our highest. We are having the highest here. So our highest is 3.5%, which is found on year 7. We are saying which year was the highest percentage. It is what? It is 7. As we have seen there from the what? From the bars, that 7 has got the highest reading there. And then calculate the percentage increase in malaria infection from year 3 to year 7, year 3 to what? To 6. Calculate the percentage increase in malaria infections. And this one, the good thing is that it's already prevalence of malaria in what? In percentages. So now what we are saying is year 3, the percentage increase year 3 to 6. So we are looking at year 3 and year 6. So what we need to look at is that we have got the highest, which is in year 6, it was 3.1, and year 2 is what? 2. So is calculate the percentage increase is 3.1, minus 2. These are percentages anyway, which are already given. So if we say 3.1 minus 2, what we get? We get what? We get 1.1. 1.1%. 1.1%. And then name 2 precautionary methods that can be implemented to prevent contracting malaria when traveling to an infested area. When people are going to places which have got malaria, what are the precautionary measures that they should use? They can, one, use mosquito nets. Are always used to prevent biting from mosquitoes. We are saying use of mosquito net, use of mosquito nets. We can also talk about mosquito or insect repellent. Mosquito repellent. Mosquito repellent also can help to prevent to also avoid biting of mosquito. We can talk about use of 1, 2, 3. We can also talk about use of we can also talk about stay inside when it is dark. Staying in house. In house during the night. When people in homes are closing windows, ensuring that mosquito cannot go inside. And then we can also talk about use of medication. Use of medication can also help in terms of that. Use of medication can also help in preventing the contraction of malaria. And then give 2 symptoms of malaria. Symptoms of malaria, we are saying, what are the symptoms of malaria that we can talk about? We can talk about one, we can talk about sweating. People, they do sweat. 2, sweating. We can talk about headache. When people have got malaria, they suffer from headache. 3, we can talk about joint and muscle pain. Joint or muscle pain. We can also talk about other symptoms that we can also sometimes have is fatigue. When people suffer from malaria, they can also as well have fatigue, just being nausea and so forth. We can also talk about vomiting. And then lastly, I maybe want to talk about fever, high body temperature. When people have got malaria, they suffer from problems such as this. They have got high temperature. Their temperature is just abnormally high. And then the table represents below shows population size of mice in a 100-hectare maize field over 10-year period. So this is the population. We are saying the year, and then the population, the year and the population. So the question wants us to what? To identify, to say this is 2020, 2015 to 2024, last year, 2015 to 2024. and we have got the population increase 25, 35, 75, 120 continuously, and then it comes back again to 86 up to 110 in 2024. So the question is saying, what is meant by the term population? Define population. We can talk about organisms. Population is defined as one, a group of, we can define it as what? Group of the same species that are living in the same definite area. A group of same species of organisms are staying in one area, staying in one area. We can also say that a population is a group of individuals of the same species that are staying in one area. We can also say that these organisms, what happens when you talk about population, the individuals of the species are able to naturally interbreed together to produce fertile offsprings. What happens when we are looking at individuals of a population? When we look at individuals of population, they must be able to breed together and produce fertile offsprings. Why was the rate of increase? Why was the rate of increase fairly slow from 2015 to 2016? If you can look at the population increase, we are saying why was it fairly increasing from 2015 to 2016? 2015 it was 25 and then it went to 35, increased by 10. So what is causing the population to steadily increase or fairly increase? One, it might be because the population was small. The original population was small, was small, so it was reproducing according to the numbers that were present. The original individuals in the population were very few. Hence reproduction took slowly. Hence reproduction occurred slowly too. So reproduction was taking place according to the number that we had. That can be the reason why the numbers were just slow like that. We can as well maybe want to agree and say that they were getting used to the environment. Population was getting established. It was getting established. It was getting established or used to the environment. It was getting used to the environment. That can be the reason also. And then why did the number of increase from 2016? Why did the number increase fast? I guess this can also be just the opposite of what we just said, to say in terms of this, the rapid increase from 2016 to 2019. 2016, it was 35, and then it doubled in 2017 to 2019. It went to 130. So what is causing this? It might have been caused by various reasons. That might be because of favorable reproduction processes and environmental uh, resistance.